Okay, guys, I just got my pre-flight blast from DGA in the mail today, and I'm really excited. So I'm gonna open it up and see what it is. From what I've heard, it's supposed to be an overstable approach disc with a unique style top. Um, Super excited. Wow, they packaged this really tight. Okay. Interesting. So it does have that Berg style top to it with a little bit of a thumb track, but it's very, very minor. This is about the smallest thumb track style I've ever felt. It's very interesting. Very swirly, beautiful plastic. I love the look of this plastic. Beadless. Kind of has that zone style feel for the four-handable approach. Should be pretty torque resistant. Definitely feels like it would be more torque resistant than a breaker. Probably a 4-speed feeling, maybe a 3-speed. Definitely has that kind of flat style, higher parting line, stable feeling to it. Feels pretty good for backhand. I think I could make this work for a backhand, and it definitely feels nice for forehand. The thumb actually sits on the thumb track really nice, and since it's not too deep, it doesn't feel like it'd get caught like on some discs with that. And it's semi-shallow, but it's not super shallow. It's kind of in between, like a deep and a shallow style approach disc. So I'm really excited about this. I'm gonna go out and give this a field test. I'm gonna compare it to some breakers that I have and all kinds of plastics, and probably a zone or two. So yeah, I'm excited. Okay, so I've been throwing the blast for a couple days now. Bad throw. A little more stable than I thought it would be, especially for the hand feel, for how shallow I've realized it is compared to other discs in this category. But it's really nice. It's overstable, but not super dumpy. It'll still push and then dump at the end of its flight once it runs out of speed. It doesn't want to take massive skips. It doesn't really want to roll. The subtle thumb track really helps it kind of get a clean release out of your hand. And it's really nice plastic where it's kind of flexible a little bit, but it still has that stiffness that in the hot day it's not going to melt, but it's also going to like not try to bounce and roll. It has good integrity to stay on the ground. So I have a breaker here, a zone, and the blast, and I want to show you how they fly. Right now we have a slight tailwind, and I'm going to start with some backhands. So breaker first. Flat to a little Annie, pushes straight for a while, and then runs out and kind of dies at the end. This is the zone. Very similar throw. Little Annie pushes a little farther, a little straighter, but still has a very kind of stable finish at the end. And now the blast. Little more Anheuser on that, and see how much faster that's trying to fight out. And it really swings to the left at the very end. It's really trying to fight out of that Annie. It's a really good disc, super torque resistant. Okay, so we got here, right in the line. Breaker went the farthest by a couple feet. Zone, very similar. And blast, even though I put a little more Anheuser on it, it's still a little shorter. It's just a little more stable, wants to try to get to the ground a little faster. Now I'm going to throw them back into a straight headwind. Breaker, try to throw this pretty much dead flat. Do that with a touch of Annie, really nice, holds over, and then pushes back out of it at the very end. Zone now. Similar, pushes a little higher, Little straighter, a little more finish there. Now the blast. Try to really test this guy. Gonna throw pretty hard into this headwind. Do that flat to hyzer, but really hard, and it's just trying to move left. It didn't want to stay straight at all, even into a pretty strong headwind. Really impressive. This is a perfect representation of what these discs are. Zone here, a little straighter, threw it a little higher, but really nice. The blast just pushed so far left, even though I started it more right. It really, really is impressive how much this disc holds up. Breaker went a little farther, a little straighter. Breaker's a great disc. It's still overstable. It just doesn't quite have as much torque resistance as this blast does. Okay, I'm going to throw the forehands back out to the tailwind. I'll start with the breaker first. This should be a lot less torque resistant on forehand. I think you're really going to see the difference between the breaker and the blast here. Slide Annie, and it just held it for a long time. I didn't even throw it that hard. Fades back a little at the end. But that was a pretty light throw. Zone, I threw that a little harder, a little lower. Still pushing, and it's trying to fight out at the end, but it's never trying to dump. It's still going forward. Blast now. Do that very hard. Good amount of Annie. Pushed, and then it just is trying to work back right the whole way. It never wants to keep going straight or turn. It just wants to slowly get right or slowly left on the back end. It never is fully dumping, but it's also never trying to keep push forward and stay straight. It's always trying to die. Okay, forehands, back into the headwind. Breaker, I put that on hyzer, and it just burns over. It just doesn't quite have the same torque resistance. Zone, do that low slide hyzer. It pops up, pushes, and then fades at the very end. Blast now. Do that slide hyzer. It pops up, pushes forward, and then tries to just slowly get back right at the end. That had a little wobble on it, but it just fought the headwind the whole time. Really impressive. I'm just super impressed with the blast as a disc. Super torque resistant, especially the thumb track is very subtle. You know, it doesn't really, if you're someone who doesn't generally like thumb tracks, I still think you can like the blast because it really isn't something that gets in the way. I've never used a disc that has a thumb track, but this one I intend on using. Yeah. Okay, my final thoughts on the new DGA Blast. I'm so excited to add this to the lineup. It's an absolutely beautiful disc. These PreFlight ones came in these wonderful swirls, the swirly Pro line. It looks amazing, feels great, wonderful plastic. It has that very, very subtle thumb track. I don't even know how well you can see it on camera, but it really, really does hold up. It's a little more stable than a Zone, a little more dumpy. It really fills like a missing slot in the lineup. It's more stable than a breaker, but it complements it really, really well. And for someone like my dad, who has tried out throwing these before, he just never really liked the feel of the Zone for a forehand. Maybe someone who likes the Quake. The Quake's nice, it pushes, it has a stable finish on a forehand, but it goes farther, it's a little glidier, and it doesn't quite have that torque resistance. This blast is a little slower, a little more stable, and if you don't like the feel of the Zone or a disc like that, the blast is a slightly lower profile, has a really nice hand feel, very comfortable for forehand especially, but also for backhand. It's a wonderful disc, and I can't wait for the world to get to see it and use it.